Okay, now starting with the second method, which is interview. Now, as pretty much clear by the name itself, what interview means is we are having a verbal conversation, a verbal interaction with a person from the community or the institution, or depending on what the objective is. So, we collect the data where two or more people have a face to face or a verbal conversation based on a purpose, right? It involves at least two people. There could be more than two people, but minimum two people, the researcher or the interviewer as well as the respondent. Now there's a distinction between what we already, what we do a day-to-day conversation, like one-to-one conversation, and what the basic way of conducting an interview is. So there's a researcher named Young. He says the interview is defined as the conversation of gestures. He elaborated that interviewing is not simply two-way process between interviewer and respondent. Voice inflections, halting statement play as much role in the conversation as the facial expressions, body gestures, glances, pauses in between. So, for example, if you ask somebody about, or for that matter, you're simply studying a death ritual, for example, okay? Now, the respondent has undergone certain circumstances where he or she was directly involved in a death ritual. Now, asking somebody to give how do you conduct it would bring him or her back to the place where he or she might have lost somebody, close to them from their own family, or somebody. So what happens when they talk, you will realize their voice starts shivering at a stage when they start talking about their loved ones, and the tears do fall. There's a change in the gesture or the facial expressions definitely change, their gestures change, and all these things, the minor observations, have to be recorded in your observations as well as while conducting the interview. So when you do the transcriptions of the interviews, you write all these. For example, let's suppose name of a person like Rahul. Let's say Rahul was asked about any death ritual and anything, okay, and then you will write in bracket, you will do the transcription for one line, ठीक है, उसका exact quote you will line in italics, and then in bracket you will very shortly write, after taking a small pause, bracket close, continue what he said in the interview according to the recording, video recording, whatever, audio recording. He took a small pause and then he resumed saying this. Okay, so these small gestures or small shifts in the way the respondent is saying something, conveying something, are also how an interview is recorded. So this needs to be taken care of. There are other researchers, Goody and Hart. They say interviewing is fundamentally a process of social interaction. Definitely, it's a process of social interaction. In the interview, the researcher defines and controls the conversation, and he or she can direct the flow of the communication according to his or her requirements, right? The interviewer's personality may often play a role in the interview process, such as ethnicity, sex, social status, age, physical appearance, clothing, grooming, and other and overall demeanor gives an impact in many different ways. That's very much correct. Experiences, and they have a role in their social identification. They all that do have a role in their experiences. So definitely a person from, say, a Muslim community would have different experience on the same topic versus a person from a Hindu community, for that matter. So again, the interview has to be very specific about what you are basically trying to capture. All those either you use a checklist, you use a guide, interview guide, or interview schedule, you use there are different tools for that, for conducting the interview. or you simply have set of questions and the probing questions, and you may deviate from them, you may add on something extra, but that becomes the guide becomes the main. Ethnographers mainly depend on the interview guide. Now guide is again a sort of checklist, मतलब main questions हमको किस theme पे question पूछना है, and then it is going to have some probing questions, probing as in supporting questions, and then again you are going to have the second question which has further probing questions if at all it requires. And what happens sometimes on the field, you realize that this is going beyond what is my scope of research. So that way you have the entire control, that you can control the deviation, and then you can bring it back by the next question, right, or by the probing question. So you can always bring back the respondent to the research, and that is also one of the important skill that you must have. Otherwise the person who is saying has lot many experiences and they keep going, so you must know where you have to stop, or where you have to deviate and set another question. Now, to conduct interviews, again there are two approaches to it: structured and unstructured interview. Structured interview में क्या होता है, we have again set of questions which have been tested already based on a pilot study, or a pre-field work sort of study. On that basis you have already finalized the questions. Questions could be either in form of a full-fledged questions, that these are the exact questions what I have to ask, nothing beyond that, nothing additional to it. The other way is you have a guide which more or less is constant, but you can definitely deviate depending on the context, or you can definitely add few questions. Fine. So that is this is the basic difference between structured and the non-structured interview. Then apart from that, there are other forms of interviews, like personal interview, where you are having a detailed talk with a person, or when an interview is confirmed to an individual informant, then it is personal or individual interview, right? If there are more than one person, like more than 2 person involved in the entire phase of interview, then it's a group interview. Group of people is interviewed for ascertaining their opinions and views about a particular social issue, so that is called a group interview. It's different from group discussion. Okay, in group interview only the researcher is asking and the respondents are saying one by one, or one by one they are asked about one given question. Whereas in group discussion, even the researcher or even every member is involved, and they're given a particular theme, particular question, and on that you have to, there's a set time limit for that. There is a set there's no set of involvement of the researcher, so researcher could also be involved, but there's a set of timing involved in group discussion. Now this interview are conducted to yield a general idea about the person's perception concerning a particular issue. A set of questions is prepared by the interviewer and it's asked to a particular group, and the response are either recorded or noted down. The next way is a focused interview. Basically, it's specific to a situation. So on a focused theme, you have a discussion with the people. So that's identified as a focus interview. In-depth interview is a very detailed account again of one given person. For example, here in this technique, the interviewee is encouraged to express freely his or her understanding about one issue related to him or her, and ask to share a personal experience in detail. If it's repeated after a certain interval, then it's called repeated interview. But in-depth interview, as in at a place at a time, you are asking a person about a very detailed account of one particular theme. So their experiences, their challenges, and all those things related to that particular theme. So their personal experiences and all that is a very detailed account of one single person. So in-depth interviews is one approach of conducting an interview. Then we have clinical interviews, where we take an assessment of physical health, psychological status, clinically, where you are asking about the medical history or any form of disease history of a person. So yes or no. Even in psychological, when you say, you have to categorize strongly agree, not no opinion at all, disagree, strongly disagree. So that way it's also one of the way of conducting clinical interview. The next approach of conducting an interview is life history. Life history is a detailed account of one single person, of his or hers entire life events, all the important life events, right? So that is how you identify life history. It's a qualitative research technique which gives an overall pictures of respondents' life and all the important life events. It's also known as life history interview technique since all the informations are collected by interviewing the respondent. The main purpose is to be able to describe what it is like to be this particular person, meaning the person who is being interviewed, right? So you want to see, for now generally life history comes for a very significant person, for that matter. For example, when we conducted our bachelor's field work, there was a shaman, and we actually conducted, it was not a detailed one, but shaman, for example, a traditional healer who has a very significant role in a society, in a community. So his, or in this case his role was quite significant, because so when we're trying to capture his life history, we start from the important phases. Firstly, with respect to being shaman, we started with identifying from how or from when had he started doing all of it, because that was the important event. How was the calling? So there was inner calling given to him by some ancestors, or while he was sleeping, as he claimed. So that was the thing. So detailing everything about shaman, about his history, because he's a very significant person in that community. So having a detailed account on one single person gives you a life history of that particular person, okay, to reveal every whereabouts of that person, every single important event of that person's life, his or her experiences, and how lot other things have impacted upon him, okay, or her. In this technique, many a times respondent is asked to narrate his or her experiences instead of asking close-ended questions, right? So it's like a detailed descriptive account, qualitative account. These forms of telling one's own story in his or her own way is also called as narrative method. Now, for example, you can also be specific about a simple thing like being a shaman, how he started, how his role been in the community in healing which forms of diseases, and then you can ask about, okay, could you please elaborate how you have treated, for example, a simple disease like diarrhea among young children. So how do you treat, what is your way of approaching diarrhea in young children? Could you please show us, could you please elaborate? That could be the question. Okay, so through life histories, person keep the worthwhile memories, their experiences and collective values alive by telling others about them and putting them in a form that may last longer than ourselves. In a life story interview, now this is a different form. The interviewee is a storyteller, the narrator of the story of their own life. Therefore, interviewer becomes a guide or the director in this entire process. The two together are the collaborators composing and constructing a story. The teller can be placed. So there are different accounts that can be brought out of this approach of conducting a life history. Okay, now very quickly, there are few research tools that are also required. Although research tool as such is not mentioned, there's one case study method. But apart from that, there are very important one other is questionnaire also. So these few important tools that will be relevant from your exam point of view only, that I'll be discussing here. So firstly, you have interview schedule. Now interview schedule is a research tool, very important. See, very important, you must know there's another term, questionnaire. So there is a basic difference between the two, you must know that. I'll discuss in detail. In social anthropology, basically interview schedules and questionnaires are two very widely used tools for collecting qualitative as well as quantitative data. The interview schedule, it's a standardized set of questions which are already pre-tested in advance. In this, the researcher and the respondent are in face-to-face contact, and the interview schedule is filled by the researcher himself or herself and interprets the questions as and when necessary. Fine. So very important keyword here is interview schedule is filled by the researcher. Fine. In most cases, the questions here are open-ended questions. Now there's a basic difference between open-ended and close-ended. Open में क्या होता है, you will ask what has been your for example, what has been your experiences regarding any health service for that matter. Okay, so you'll ask what has been your experience. Now experience is a very detailed story that you're asking, so it's a very open-ended question. Fine. Or for example, you're asking age, or no, gender, exactly, it's an open-ended question. So sometimes what you do is, for example, you ask gender and you keep that blank, so this becomes an open-ended question. The person is free to answer it or not answer it, up to his choice. But when you are giving the options, now take care, when you are giving the options where you say male, female, fine, then you have the other gender, and you say prefer not to say. This is the fourth option that you are giving. So now, because there are only 4 options and the person has no choice to be elaborative about not detail about their gender, so now these are very closed options. So in this case, we say the question is, these are closed questions. Fine. So out of these 4, only one has to be selected, so therefore it's a closed question. In case of interview schedule, the questions are quite open. Okay, and very importantly, this has to be filled by the researcher himself or herself. Okay, so they can ask the question, they can interpret the questions, and then they can fill the answers, or give a transcription of the interview based on this guide in their own way. Okay, Goody and Hart, they define interview schedule as a set of questions which are asked by an interviewer and is filled in on the spot in a face-to-face interaction with another person. So from this definition, it's quite clear that questions are asked, they are filled right there in the field as the interview proceeds, and there is a good opportunity for the researcher to make the respondent understand the questions if there is any doubt. So they can ask the question again and again if there is any doubt related to, if the question is not clear, if what exactly are they trying to ask, right? If they want to be specific about that question, so they can ask again and again. In that case, the respondent is also free to ask the questions, and the researcher is available to them. Therefore, the data yielded through this research are quite accurate and trustworthy, because there is no miscommunication between the question set and what the respondent understands. So very less room for incomplete interviews or deviation from what they have asked and what they have understood. Besides, interview schedule can be used by both literate and illiterate people. Again, very important difference. It could be used between literate as well as illiterate, because here we are asking in their native language or in whatever way they feel comfortable with, like English or Hindi being very common. Hindi being very common in North India, so you would prefer Hindi as way to ask the question and again, there are available dialects also, but if a person is not expert in speaking that dialects or that native language, then probably you are not the correct researcher. There has to be, or you have to learn the language first and then go to the field, because it's not just about asking the question, it's also about interpreting and then probing some questions in between to get a very detailed responses. ठीक है, तो it could be conducted with both illiterate, literate, and now it could be very expensive, because sometimes or most often what happens is, interview requires a lot of time. You have to do the transcription, you have to go on the field, conduct the interviews, build a rapport. It does take a lot of time. Your time investment, your monetary investment is quite huge in interview tools. Some tools, like for example psychological tools, clinical tools, they are paid, so you do not easily get them. You have to, from your institution or from your supervisor's support, you have to collect or you have to pay for it. So that's also one thing. Then you have to have some softwares for qualitative analysis. So it does require a few monetary investment. On the other hand, we have a questionnaire. Now, when we were talking about close-ended and open-ended questionnaire is more or less close-ended questions. ठीक है, very important, it's close-ended questions कि हम options दे रहे हैं, इसमें से ही select करके, like these are the 4 options and you have to choose any one, or you have to decide what you have to do. The respondent has to decide what they have to do, right? It is mainly made up of list of questions which include clear instructions, space for answers, and administrative details. It does not involve face-to-face interaction. This is a very important thing. Does not involve the respondent and interviewer does not sit together. They do not sit together. What happens is interviewer is going to circulate some sheets, and the respondent has to fill at their comfortable place, wherever they feel like, or howsoever. So these are mostly close-ended questions, and the answer categories are already provided as options. So like this one, the answer categories are already provided. They are generally sent through mail. Now, if you would have come across during COVID pandemic, most of the researchers shifted to the online mode because they do not want to waste their time sitting idle. So they conducted their research, or some perspectives was developed of COVID situation through email questionnaires to reduce the contact. Okay, or we can either send by post or in a covering letter, but otherwise without further assistance from the sender. Now, one important thing here, the drawback is like the questionnaire is being given, but if there's some confusion, there is no interviewer around from where you can clarify what exactly are you trying to ask about it, right? Sometimes the researcher himself or herself is not circulating the questions, but it's through a medium that they're circulating the questions, like online, and then whosoever conducts, they are anonymous, and then they just submit it. So what happens, sometimes they do not fill the entire questionnaire also. That again becomes a challenge. Therefore lot of discrepancies are expected in filling out the questionnaires, and sometimes they're incomplete, partially filled, and sometimes you have to give a quite lengthy follow-ups to the respondents because they have not yet submitted. They have to submit, that becomes quite disturbing for you, for the respondent also. So these are quite challenges with questionnaire, but the plus point here is they are very quick to be answered, less time consuming, less monetary investment, less traveling, less things, there's no rapport building at all. In most situations, no rapport building. Okay, so this is what are the 2 very important tools that we use for social anthropology. Now, one important thing that is mentioned in your syllabus is also case study. Now, case study, as the name says, you have to study in detail about a case, in detail. ठीक है. So a detailed account of a generic development of individual, group, institution. Now here the unit is defined according to the objective of your research. For example, when I uh, yeah, so for example, if you want to do the you know, you want to bring a detailed account of, let's say, gyms in any urban setting, right? So what you can do is, here you are doing, or you know, of the gym, one gym being the unit, and in that the members are all of them, they are studied. members में जो enrolled हैं, जो trainers हैं, जो administrative staff है, what not, like managers and all those people. So you have a lot of levels of approaching an entire gym as a case of gym. Okay. Similarly, when you're trying to study the family, so in a family you have lot many people, and one by one you're going to study. If you have to give a detailed case study of that particular entire family, right? So again, it varies what exactly is your objective of study, what exactly is your unit of the research. If it's an institution, if it's an individual, there could be an individual ka case study. Now case study requires specific information. It is different from a life history of a person. Case study of a person is different from a life history of a person. Fine. But when we are doing a case history, then most of the informations definitely overlap. Okay, case history is quite overlapping with the life history, because most of the important events are what we are talking there as well as here. So it's case history which could be overlapping, but case study as such is it's specific to certain information. Anthropologists may present the case studying the form of a monograph, for instance, of the course by M.N. Srinivas. This again is very important from your UGC net point of view, often asked. So course is the community, M.N. Srinivas is the researcher. Very pioneering research, you would have known by now, I think. Evans Pritchard's study in the newer tribe. Another way of presenting case studies by comparing a number of cases pertaining to the same phenomenon, aiming to arrive at a certain submissions. So basically what case study is, it's an empirical inquiry which investigates a contemporary phenomenon in depth and within its real life context, right? So very detailed account of something which is relevant today, would have happened in past. So retrospectively definitely we can take into account, prospectively we can bring in contexts, we can bring in experiences or understanding perspectives, but everything in a real life context, especially the boundaries between the phenomenon and the context are not clearly evident. In other words, you would use the case study method because you wanted to understand a real life phenomenon in depth, but such understanding encompassed important contextual conditions because they were highly pertinent to your phenomenon of study. So, you know, more or less what it entails is, with a purpose, with the defined goal of your research, you study a given unit, a given object, or a subject of study, not the object, subject. You study them in detail, based on, again, you have you have the checklist or a guide where you are supported while conducting the interview, while having a respondent's perspective. All these things are captured. So very detailed account of everything. Interview ka pura mechanism is involved, observation is involved, their responses are involved. Everything is very detailed, in a detailed way approached, right? So this is or for example, like in a case study, now you would have read few of the PhD works. Some says that we are doing the case study of the entire district, some says we are doing the case study in hospitals, or we are doing the case study of a family with say cancer patients, or lot of different units could vary for a case study. So it could be entire country, it could be 4 different zones of the country separately. You are doing a comparative analysis by doing the case studies of every single zone of the country. Then There could be a case study of the entire district where the subunits become every single institution, every single person who could be a representative person of that district. Fine. So the approach basically varies, and rest of the thing has overlaps with the life histories, case histories, then interviews, observations, and whatnot. Right. See, genealogy is another method, but it's not there in the syllabus, so I'll be skipping on it for now. FGDs are also not there, but again, what happens here is you have a group of respondents. Now, those respondents must not be participating in any other interview in your entire course of research or field work. ठीक है, तो let's say there are 5 women, and on you have to give a theme. Okay, example you are giving on breastfeeding, for that matter. So their experience, their challenges, based on different themes, you have sub questions, probing questions. So all these things are answered in a focus group discussion. So you have a focus theme and you have a group to discuss all of it. The respondent is not involved in it. The respondent probes the question, but he or she is not directly involved because it's about their perceptions or knowledge, attitude, their practices, and everything. Fine. So this is about your more or less about your tools. Feel free to ask any questions if you have. Thank you.